I get those goosebumps every time.
I just have to get the big fella off the bench.
Could this be their last chance now? In it comes, Monster to the front! He scored! Harry Monster scored!
I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too numb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need that line, throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. 713 through the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm riding. Slipping low key and hiding. I get those goosebumps every time. I'm around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those cons. I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hype.
Here we go. Back again. Welcome everyone to Loaded Mag NUFC, the fully loaded transfer show. We're back, boys. We're back, and it's going to be an interesting one tonight. I'm not going to lie. I had a little bit of a chat with the boys, talking all things Newcastle United. Seems to be hotting up. It does. But look, we're going to get into it all. First of all, Daz, Chris, how are you fellas? You good?
All good at me, Pete. All good at me. Busy day, up early. But yeah, looking forward to talking all things. Will we? Won't we? Who will we buy? Who will we sell? Who? All these names popping left, right, and center. Do we have the money? Do we not? And yeah, it's constantly changing. Even just right before the show kicked off, those names being dropped in. Departures and incomings. So let's see. Let's get into it.
Definitely. Chris, fella, how are you?
Good, mate. Yeah, all good. Yeah, bit similar to Dad's busy day, but really been looking forward to coming on tonight and talking all things Newcastle as we always do. And yeah, you boys have got me even more excited now because there's a little bit of news that we're going to be talking about today that I've only just heard about myself. So I'm sure the viewers will be looking forward to hearing all about it.
Most definitely. And look, a bit of housekeeping, people. You know the score. You've been here before. If you have been here before, you will know to click the like. And if you are new to the channel, please subscribe to this channel. Get them in nice and early. Get those likes up. We've got already 100 in the chat. Welcome to you all. And I'm sure there'll be many more coming in. And thank you all for your continued support. Look,
Pete, 250. We should set a target. Yeah, let's give people a target of 250. People can manage that. I think that, yeah, it is Thursday, isn't it? Yeah, it's a Thursday night. Yeah. Let's get on it. 250.
You're mashing to one at the moment, mate. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
These days, Jesus Christ, they moved too quickly for me. But look, boys, let's get into it. Interesting turn of events. What we thought we were going to start with, we're not going to start with that anymore because Craig Hope has thrown Hope out the window, and certainly a spanner in the works because he's put out a couple of articles or tweets in the last hour or so, one of which has shocked a lot of people. Craig Hope has said, and as an exclusive, Joe Linton could well have played his last game for Newcastle United in a contract standoff. He currently has 18 months left on his contract. He will be missing the remainder of the season. It says that he will be having his surgery next week, which means that by the time he's fit, he'll only be going into his last year of his contract. Big news, boys. Standoff, contract, Joe Linton leaving. Daz, what'd you make of it all?
I totally ignored the bit that he was gone for the rest of the season. I that skipped my mind, but yeah, we that's confirmed now as well. So great, but that is a strange one as well because there's two kind of ones of a tactic for that one. Like first. He's sometimes with some people he's the first name on the team sheet. I know in the Irish Mag lads, they always say that he's the first name on the team sheet. So that would be a big blow if we were to lose J7. Then the other thing, and I know Chris, you just mentioned it before you come on show, and I was thinking it as well. What kind of money is he looking for? Is he looking for the same money as his mate, who he was chatting to in the Atlas Gear the other day in Bruno? Maybe there's some kind of compromise can be reached. I think we need J7. I know we need to trade and to bring us to the next level, but I don't know if I'd be starting with J7.
Yeah, most definitely. Chris, you were the newest to find out this news, literally just before we came live. What's your initial reaction to that, mate?
Mate, I've got like 3 things going around my head now. Probably too much. You know, Daz is right. You know, we were speaking about it before, saying like, you know, what kind of wages does he want? Is it Bruno money and the club aren't willing to do it? I mean, what's going through my head at the moment is we were talking about having to make sacrifices, and we were talking about having to move the club forward. And to be fair, Joe Linton's name never came up as a possibility. Then I'm thinking about this latest player that we've been linked with, Edison. And the description was he's very similar to Joe Linton. So now that's got me panicking a little bit. I don't know what to think. Joe Linton's our destroyer. We heard Eddie Howe describe Joe Linton's miss against Man City as being a huge loss because we don't have anybody like Joe Linton, and this is the problem. I mean, if the club go out and find a like for like or replace Joe Linton with somebody, obviously I'm sure I'll get over it. But if you were asking me, 48 hours ago, who would be the players that I wouldn't want to lose, he would probably be on that list because Big Joe's been fantastic for us since he got moved into that central midfield role, and under Eddie Howe he's been fantastic. He'd be a big loss, he really would. But then I don't know. And then the other side of me thinks, hang on, is it just a little bit of sensationalism? And that's nothing against Fake Hope, by the way. But are we getting ahead of ourselves? I'm sure what Craig said is true. There probably is a contract standoff, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be sold. And I'm sure there could be an agreement made somewhere down the line. And I think Daz, I think it was you just said it. Has that distracted from the fact that Joe Linton's out for the season because we're all like, God, he might be leaving. Yeah. Oh, by the way, he's out for the season. I don't know.
Just another point to add to that, and give some credit here to Sean Casey. He says a lot of things, but he put out a tweet there about two or 3 days ago. Has J7 played his last game for Newcastle? So I don't know. I hope this news isn't true, and it's just a bit of speculation, putting 2 and 2 together with the contract, or maybe it's again to kind of push things on a bit. But For me though, I've said it to you guys before. When I'm thinking of the names I don't want touched, it's Botman, Bruno, Isak, and I put Gordon into it now as well, and Miley. But I don't want J7 to go either.
No.
It's a difficult situation. He is 27, year left on his contract. Is a big player for us, but if it remains to be true that we do need to kind of sell, is he the perfect foil? Now, the question I've got for you boys and everyone in the chat is, I think a few people have been talking about it as well, is if we were to sell Joe Linton, year left on his contract, that how much would he be worth? We bought him for 40 million, albeit to be a striker, but how much realistically do you think we could get from him?
50
million. Okay, straight in there with that, Daz, straight off the bat.
Straight in.
50 million. Chris, are you in agreement, or are you thinking slightly different?
I think if he had 2 years, maybe 3 years on his contract, it'd be 50 million. My only issue is it's only a year. Newcastle won't sell him cheap, but I do think that they might, the buying club might be able to haggle Newcastle a little bit. So maybe maybe 30, 35 million. I saw someone in the chat actually put 30 million, and when I seen it, I thought 30 million, it's got to be worth more than 30 million. And then I saw he's only got a year left.
Yeah.
And that does affect things, because it's, you don't want him to go to the last 6 months. And then if he gets to the last 6 months, his agent will be in Joe Linton's ear going, do you know what, mate, just see the last 6 months out, and then you can have your pick of your clubs. Oh, and by the way, you'll get a massive signing on fee when you go as well. So we don't really want to go down that route.
There is one bonus if he was to leave. And Jimmy's on the button here. No, Jimmy, I definitely wouldn't be getting the tattoo. I'd be glad I didn't get it.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Positives all round. That's for sure. But look, we're just hearing this news now. It's not set in stone. We know from players that are not even at our clubs, you hear around the Premier League and around Europe, that deals can get done at the last minute. You know, you only have to look at Kylian Mbappe as an example of that. He could still sign a new deal with PSG if he wanted to, or go to Real Madrid. It's one of those ones where, you know, contracts are contracts, that they can get signed at any moment and agreed at any moment. But the most important thing at this point is that he's not available for Newcastle United. He's not playing or being able to play for us. And that's the biggest disappointment. Honestly, I believe that there will be an agreement there. I think there can be a compromise at some point. He loves playing for the club. I don't think he'll be loved anywhere else, at any other club in the world, the way he's loved at Newcastle United. And I think some players need to remember that our fans are very, very unique. And it's something that I think will definitely play on his mind with regard to this contract issue. And let's not forget, he came to the club on big money anyway. You know, for the role that he played as a striker. But let's see. If he does go, minimum the money that we paid for him, minimum 40 million. Like at the very least. Like we brought him in as a player from Hoffenheim that was brought as a striker, who was actually a left-sided forward of a front three. He would then be leaving a midfield destroyer who's got 3 Brazilian caps to his name, international caps to his name. We've made him better. Yeah. We've made him a better player. So for that, he's worth more than what we sell him for. What we bought him for, sorry. So that's my opinion on that. Lots of people in the chat giving their opinions. Some are going Saudi 75 million. Like it said, some are going only a year left on his contract. You know, 30 million, 20 million, I think some people have said in the chat. And like all your opinions, to be fair, they're all valid, because it could quite easily go either way. But look, an interesting one to start with, one that we weren't expecting either. And look, we'll come to this next, because we'll stick with Craig Hope, because not long after that, he put another tweet out. And this one was in addition to the Joe Linton tweet. And Craig Hope has named sort of a short list of around 5 players drawn up for this month, which was exciting for me for various reasons. Interestingly, one of which has been named as Philip Billing. And he also talks about a player that we've been talking about a lot, boys, for a number of weeks now, in Calvin Phillips as well. What do you make of first of all, let's stick with just one player, the link with Philip Billing, Bournemouth's midfielder. Bournemouth for their levels are having a good season. They're beaters earlier on in the season. Philip Billing is a big part of what they do. What do you make of that initial link, Chris? I'll start with you.
I'm a big fan of Philip Billing. I think he's a player who he's probably outgrown Bournemouth, I'd say, and that's no disrespect to Bournemouth, but I think whenever I see him play, he looks a threat. The one thing I will say, and obviously I can't really back this up too much, and maybe a Bournemouth fan will correct me, but I do think he's a little bit injury prone. But what I will say is that, you know, he reminds me a little bit of Joe Linton, actually. You know, he's big, he's powerful, he's strong, he travels well with the ball, he carries the team forward. And whenever I've seen him, he's impressed me. Oh my God, come on.
Sorry, maybe you know this already, but no, I just see Manio is in Spain already for his medical.
Brilliant news.
There's a video of him there.
Oh, is there an actual video now? Is there?
On 360, yeah, there is.
It's fantastic news.
It's just gone up now.
Good servant to the
Sorry,
club.
Chris.
I'm segueing a bit here. Good servant to the club, Manio. But that is brilliant news because it's another person off the wage bill, another squad place available. And you know, rather than losing for free, I mean, it could be free, even if it's a nominal fee. If we just get something for him and then get him off the wage bill and get the squad number out, it's brilliant. Really, really good news. But yeah, Philip Billing. Yeah, I kind of feel like he's outgrown Bournemouth a little bit. He was impressive at Huddersfield, got the move to Bournemouth, and yeah, whenever I see him play, he looks decent. He looks really, really decent, and I think he's one of those players where you look at him and go, you know what, he could do that in a bigger club. You know the way sometimes you see players and you think, yeah, you're probably at the right club, you're probably at the pinnacle where you are now. I always feel with Billing that, like, you know, he probably just misses out on a big move, but I think if he got his big move, which would be Newcastle, he could really make an impression, and he would be a really good squad player for us in terms of, you know, I'm not saying he couldn't be in the first 11. I'm not saying he wouldn't be in and around the first team, but what I mean is, you know, when we talk about our underbelly or our squad players in central midfield, at the present, we're talking about Isaac Hayden, Jeff Hendrick.
Yeah.
You know, if we're talking then about Philip Billing, that brings the levels up much higher. The price would be interesting, I would say. But you know, if there's a deal there to be done, I think why not? Because you know, he's Premier League proven, and I think he improves the squad, which he would. And if he was in the starting 11, I'd have no problem with that, because I think he's more than capable of playing for Newcastle.
Daz, thoughts on Philip Billing?
Yeah, mine are pretty short. I know on this channel he's been talked about before, and that kind of alerted me to kind of watch him a bit, and he does look decent. But then just reading the article again, he's 27. He's a Denmark international. I didn't know that. And he was brought to the club from Huddersfield by Eddie Howe for 15 million back in 2019. So a bit of history there too with Eddie Howe. But yeah, he's a decent player, be a good squad player, but it wouldn't be top of my list to long term.
But just Pete, just before you give us your thoughts on Billing, yeah, and this has just popped in my head. And to be fair, I didn't link the fact that it was Eddie Howe that brought him to Bournemouth. It didn't, so that was interesting. That does, I didn't know that. Makes sense because he has been there around roughly the same time, so it does make sense. But Are you lads like a little bit concerned that we're getting linked with all players that Eddie Howe signed or that are English or Premier League? And like, does this concern you a little bit? Because I've got no problem with Philip Billing if the price is right, and but I don't want Dominic Solanke. But I'm now starting to think: are we just going for English players? Are we just going for Premier League players? Are we just going for players that have signed for Eddie Howe? Like, does that concern you at all, Pete? Or am I just
bring Richie to Bournemouth? No, bring Bournemouth to Richie. Remember that quote that was sitting on the table? Hey, now it's with Eddie Howe. He's trying to bring half of Bournemouth with him. Hopefully, these are just speculation stories.
He can bring Lloyd Kelly with him. Got no problem with that.
Yeah,
but yeah,
was it just buy Bournemouth and then sort it out that way?
Yeah.
Now, with regards to looking at just English players, it is a concern for me. Particularly that we know that English players come at a premium, or British-based players. But he is looking at sort of players that he knows and has been around, and it's almost like he's buying players that he knows he can trust. And that is great in one sense because he trusts those players, but it goes back to the point, like, we are looking to be fighting at the top end of the table. Like, we need players that are ready to go. Like, people are concerned about Sandro Tonali and the way he came in at Newcastle United. He is an outstanding footballer. and he will prove that at Newcastle United. But it kind of almost in the back of my mind, I feel like because he only signs those English players, it was kind of maybe forced on him. I don't think it was, but it does make you think that he has to be convinced on buying a European player, but he's quite happy to go out and get those English players, which is absolutely fine. You always need an English core, but what you then need is to get that little sprinkle of absolute like quality, and you only really get that from Europe. Like, it's very rare that you can get the best of the English players, because ultimately, at this moment in time for Newcastle United, they are only going to want to go to a Man City or a Liverpool, a team like that are fighting for those titles. But it doesn't mean to say that there's top European players that are available that can come in. We'll probably discuss a few of them tonight, and we've probably discussed a few of them before. So yeah, it is a bit of a concern, particularly the fact that of some of the players that are linked. I mean, look, Philip Billing, I've talked about before. I think he's a talented player. I really do. I talked about him last season when he was having a really, really good season, for Bournemouth. But what I also said off the back of that is that we're in a different space now. We're looking at it in a different direction. At that point, we were kind of trying to push for Champions League football, not knowing if we were going to get it, and we could have maybe ended up getting Europa League, Europa Conference League. Now we're looking at Champions League and looking to fight up at that top end of the table. I'm not quite sure long-term it's the right deal. However, when you've got Joe Linton that's not going to be available for the second half of the season, am I going to turn my nose up at someone like Philip Billing, who can come in and hit the ground running and actually improve the squad, even if it's for 6 months, a year, and we move him on, just like we did with Chris Wood, just like we did with, or like we've done with kind of like Matt Target, came in for 6 months, had a decent loan, and then he hasn't really got back in the team since. Like, if we're willing to do that, I'm okay with it. You know, I don't think we have to pay any more than sort of like 15 million. But we're talking about a player within a number of players here, so I don't want to spend too much time on Philip Billing. But I think he'll be a decent signing if we were to get him done. Hey, Summer.
Hey, Summer.
But you know, let's see with that one. However, there are a couple of other players that were linked. We'll briefly touch on this player. Is a player that... Sorry, go on.
Just before you do, because people are having the chat here about Neymar as a free agent. That I just see there that was a rumor. It was fake news.
ACL injury, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has at the moment. Yeah, but it seems like no, that his contract is not being terminated. Is what I'm seeing now. So cross him off, and he's injured anyway.
Yeah, he's got an ACL injury. I think he's got at least another probably 8 months of recovery time. I would imagine. Yeah, it was a bad injury as well. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Manio ruled it out as fake news.
Yeah, I would have expected so. Interestingly, within that article, you got players like Hayden Hackney, who is well seen in Middlesbrough. Haven't seen too much of him, but he has been playing well for them recently. It says in the article that he had scouts looking at him after or during the Chelsea game where they won 1-0, and he was apparently had a really good game. I think we might have been doing a show that night, so we didn't get a chance to actually watch that game. No. But apparently he had a really good game, and he's a player that's been looked at as well. And of course, the one that we always kind of talk about is Calvin Phillips, and he's been a running story. So we'll touch on that now, because he has been a bit of a running story for Newcastle United. There's been multiple reports saying that we're still in the race for Calvin Phillips after we've already been told that he's not. Matt Law said Calvin Phillips' future is going to be decided next week, with now Barcelona and Atletico Madrid now interested in potentially taking him. But Newcastle name's still been linked with him. And interestingly today, No, I believe it was yesterday actually. Mark Douglas of the iPaper mentioned that Calvin Phillips wants the move to Newcastle. Says that Man City are trying to get as much money out of that deal as possible, but that we're also looking at alternatives. And it mentions Edison, which we'll come back to as well. What do we think, boys? Do we think this Calvin Phillips deal is kind of run its course? Are we thinking that maybe we're moving in another direction now because of the links are still there, or do you think there might be still a late swoop to this? What are you thinking about this stuff at the moment?
Yeah, well, first of all, there's 250 people in the chat. If you all hit that like now, you'll smash the target. So smash that like button and smash the target, all in one foul swoop. But yeah, what do I think on the Calvin Phillips? Yeah, I think I said it on Tuesday night. I think we're still in the mix. We're still in play. I'm laughing at the amount of clubs that keep constantly getting added to the mix, like Atletico Madrid, Barca. It keeps growing. PSG were talked about the other day as well. It's just getting comical, but it's I think we're still in the mix. Look at the different deals being talked about with different clubs. I know there's talk as well of keeping West Ham and Man City, keeping them sweet, and they may go back for Paqueta again. You never know, that kind of a move as well. That's what I saw on Twitter as well. But yeah, no, I think we're still in the mix. We are looking at other options, and we should do that just because we don't want to put everything on Phillips. But I think if Eddie Howe has his choice, and maybe if Calvin Phillips has his choice as well, Newcastle would be where he'd end up.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on it, Chris, with regards to Calvin Phillips? He kind of, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you kind of like just bored of it now, or are you thinking there's still something to hold on to here?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's definitely something to still hold on to. I think until it's done, it's not over. That's what I'd say, because I wonder now whether all these names that we're being linked with is us basically turning around to City and going, all right, we'll go elsewhere then. And until Calvin Phillips makes that move, I think we'll still be live. I think he's probably one that we've got on the back burner, and we've probably said to City, yeah, we'll give you 3 million, that's it. And City may have turned around and gone, we want 7.5, and we've gone, sounds okay, and we've walked away, and we'll go, our 3 million's still on the table, take it or leave it. And if Calvin Phillips continues to not get a move elsewhere, or if Calvin Phillips and his agent are going, no, want Newcastle, but I'm not going, I want Newcastle, then that will force City's hands, and then City will have to come back to Newcastle and say, okay, let's try and get the deal done. Maybe we can meet halfway through the middle or whatever. Until Calvin Phillips moves, I won't believe that he's not coming to Newcastle, if that makes sense. So I'm not saying he will come to Newcastle, but I wouldn't rule him out of coming to Newcastle until he goes somewhere else, because if the player really wants the move and he knows that we want him, I think a little bit of player and agent pressure could still potentially get the deal over the line.
I find this really, really interesting, this Calvin Phillips stuff. Just because, Newcastle's name still gets linked with him, but it's not just being linked with him. When you've got someone like Mark Douglas, who is a respected journalist, like he knows his stuff, and he's got fantastic links. When he's saying that, Calvin Phillips wants Newcastle United, it just makes you think, why has this deal not already been wrapped up with another club? What I will say, and a few people have said it in the chat, and it does look like it's going that way, that, he's likely to go to Crystal Palace. What I will say to that is that that's okay for a short-term stop, but I don't really think Calvin Phillips wants this or does see his long-term future at Crystal Palace. And that's what he needs to think about, is that it's okay having 6 months there to get into the England squad, but does he really then want to be walking back pre-season back into Man City? A club that doesn't really want him. Like, they don't want him at all. Like, is he really going to want to be in that position? Whereas I would probably say, of course he'd want to go abroad. Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, great clubs. Of course he'd want to go there. But looking at the English clubs, you got us, West Ham, and probably Tottenham. okay, as options, and they're good options for him. They're great options for him, all in the top half of the table. But what I will say is that he wants guaranteed football. With our injury issues at the moment, he's more likely to get that guaranteed football with us than he would with West Ham, who have got quite a lot of central midfielders at the moment. They've got quite a few, and they're having to chop and change to fit him in. Tottenham are in the same boat. Yes, at the moment, they've got players on the African Cup of Nations, but they'll have those players back soon. So they've got a lot of options. So really, Newcastle are probably the best option for him. And as well, let's not forget, boys, is that we've been linked with him the longest. So we've shown our intent for the longest. We've shown that we want him. And maybe sometimes that goes a long way. But that's just kind of my opinion on that. And I just think that there is definitely a chance that we could still nab him. If Man City bring the fee down to say 5 million, they drop it a couple of million to say 5, maybe even 4 million, I think Newcastle do that deal. I think even if they drop to 5 million, I think Newcastle would, yeah, okay, we'll do that deal. That's, you know, saving a couple of million. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it would be in Newcastle's case. And they don't want to be kind of taking the mick out of by just paying an extra 2 million for the sake of it. I agree to that point of view, if it means that we get the player that we need. So I think that there's an opportunity there for sure. But that's one that we'll probably still talk about next week and maybe the week after, going into the last knock-ins of the transfer window. I'm not sure it will possibly get done next week, but we'll see. And Toon Gamers just made a point as well. You know, is that obligation key? Yeah. Is it key? You know, to Man City maybe lowering the fee. They may lower the fee to say 3 million if there's an obligation that we sign him for 40. Could that be the case? It's an interesting one, and there's lots more, I think, in the tank with that one. I'm gonna carry on with Mark Douglas's article, because he actually mentions a few other names, and this is where it gets interesting, boys, because we've had Craig Hope tonight with a list of 4 or 5 names in there. Some of who we know. Calvin Phillips we talked about. Hayden Hackney's a new link. Philip Billings a new link. Edison will come back to briefly in a second. But there were a couple of other links as well to players. And one of them is a player that has been kind of linked with Newcastle, I think in the summer it was. And it's Monaco's Youssouf Fofana. Wanted by a number of Premier League clubs previously. French international. Really, really talented player, and is having a great season at Monaco. And it was looking like apparently we've been scouting him for a while, and that was a name that was thrown out there. And he is an interesting talent because he is very, very talented. I think we might have actually had Lee speak about him before. I think he was mentioned in a question by someone in the chat, and I think Lee talked about him before, and he is very, very much a talented player. And we'll probably come back to that one in a second. But an interesting link as well of a player that we've come up against before, and that's Yacine Adli of AC Milan. An interesting player linked there. So there are 2 other new names to the list that we've been looking at now. Adli's a talented player, line player, but hasn't had a lot of football at AC Milan this season. With the likes of Loftus-Cheek coming in, and Reinders being brilliant for AC Milan in that midfield berth. Like, he hasn't really been getting the minutes. I think he has had an injury that he's not long come back from. But they're just 2 interesting names there, boys. And like, I just wanted kind of your reactions to 2 of those names that have kind of been mentioned, really, because like they're not names that have been overly talked about recently with Newcastle, and came a bit as a surprise to me. But what do you think about the fact that they are being linked with Newcastle United so close to the end of this window?
I read the same article where those names came up. Was it from Mark Douglas? Could have been. He was kind of throwing alternatives to Calvin Phillips, and the French international there for Fofana is the way to go. I think, and the other lad, did one of them come from PSG? Because I did kind of do transfer scout them. Then after that, I think one of them could have started at PSG. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I don't know. They are looking at a number of, and I suppose it links into Craig Hope's article then saying that there's 5 on the list. So they are looking at all the different options. I still think Phillips is number 1 for them, though. I still think they'll hold out for that, but they're looking at the alternatives. Yeah.
Chris, what are your thoughts to these new additional names kind of being added to the list, mate?
I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know much about either Adley or Fofana. I feel like all we ever speak about on the show is Fofana's. And the other day, a date, was it David Fofana who left Chelsea? Is it David Fofana?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Loads of Fofana.
That's interesting, Chris, because as I was reading that story, when it came into my head, I said, what happened to Wesley Fofana? Remember he was going to Chelsea, got injured, and he was great, like for coming from Leicester. But I think he's on the comeback trail now. Then I was thinking, I wonder could we get him on the cheap if he couldn't mix it back. But
sounds a lot of centre backs, haven't they? To be fair, Chelsea got a lot of centre backs. But and then, of course, we have Seko Fofana, but we don't talk about Seko Fofana.
Well, hold on.
Do we talk about Seko Fofana?
Horses, because Daz knows this because I was super excited to see this link, and I put it in our chat the other morning. Rudy Galati says that Al Nassr are still working at the transfer on loan of Seko Fofana to make room for the foreign players list. The aim of the Saudi club is to buy a centre-back to strengthen the defence. So they're looking at Koki Mashida from Union SG, but they would like potentially to move out Seko Fofana. And my eyes lit up with excitement of that. And look, we're going to go into the Saudi market at some point, but for me, that's the guy that I would love, because he would be a perfect signing for Newcastle United with the absence of Joe Linton, in my opinion. So I'll throw that one out there. But look, I've interrupted. Carry on, fella.
No, mate. I led you down. I led you down the path then, didn't I?
You did.
But yeah, no. I think, as I say, I don't know much about Fofana or Adley. But it doesn't. To answer your question, it doesn't surprise me that we're linked with all different centre mids, because I think now that that figure of 5 has been floated around, there'll be a lot of people putting 2 and 2 together, and we will be getting linked with all kinds of players. I thought it was interesting that Craig Hope mentioned Philip Billing in name. I thought that was interesting. But we've seen this before, haven't we, lads? We've seen this with we saw this with Nico Barella, and then all of a sudden we signed Sandro Tonali. So I think it was Bill Burnett in the chat. He said, Bill used the word clickbait, and there are some people who do promote clickbait, and I am aware of that, but I'm certainly not saying Craig does. But I think there's going to be a lot of speculation. I think that every man and his wife will know that we need the central midfielder. So I expect, and it's really exciting because it does feel like the transfer window has been incredibly quiet in the last 18 days. So now that names are starting to get linked, it does excite the fans. It keeps us interested. So I'm interested to see who we are linked with, but I expect the numbers will grow and grow and grow as the the next 14 days unfolds. So we will have to see, but yeah, I mean, getting linked to central midfielders is good because we're in desperate need of at least one. I would like 2, but I think that probably depends on whether Isaac Hayden and Jeff Hendrick and some others leave. As to whether or not we get 2, but 1 would do me. I would be content with 1, even though we still need 2, because we only have 3 currently fit midfielders, so or 3 central midfielders. So, I think that is a spot in the team that we need to look
at. Now you've led me down a path again, Chris, because I'm gonna bring it up. And you were just talking there, and it was interesting. You were talking about sort of how many we would sign in terms of the window. And so I wanted to bring up the 25-man squad, Premier League 25-man squad here. Now, you can look at the names. We've got the names on there. Now, the one name that kind of stands out for me is this man here, Sandro Tonali, because as you mentioned, we know that he won't be in the squad at the end of this month. When the squad is requested again by the Premier League, because obviously he's not available until next season. Of course, we're going to talk about it in just a second, but obviously the breaking news that Javier Manio is in Spain, and he is going to be making that move, that apparently that reuniting with Rafa Benitez at Celta Vigo. He's also in the squad. So there you've got 2 spaces available. Okay. And then it brings us to another conversation that we'll have just shortly on our captain, Jamal Lascelles. So what's interesting about that, boys, is that there is now 3 potential spaces available in the 25-man squad. And so,
and Pete, just to throw another curveball at you, and I don't mean to do this to you on the spot, but if these rumors are, I do, don't I? Yeah. If these rumors are true about Mr. J7, would there be any point in naming him in the squad?
That's a great point.
That is a good point, yeah.
Great point. You are absolutely right. And so there you're looking at 4 spaces potentially that become available in that squad that you're playing around with. Now,
it's either 4 replacements or 1 big, massive loan signing that can squeeze into those 4 places.
Now,
or J-Dog. Is J-Dog coming back?
No, I knew you were going to say it. I knew you were going to say it. And I was just about to say, Chris.
Don't.
And it doesn't mean that Jeff Hendrick's coming back, because he ain't, right? Don't get excited about it. But, you know, with that many players being available and Eddie Howe emphasizing last summer, at the end of the last transfer window, that you know, we were full to bursting with our squad. We had a full 25-man remit. You know, surely that opens up the conversation to saying, could there be a few deals, not just 1 or 2? Could there potentially be a few deals that take place before the end of the transfer window? I'm just putting it out there.
Pete, do you know what? I completely agree with you. And the other thing I would throw at, so Daz, you're getting it 2-pronged now. The other thing I'd say is, surely we're not going to sign 4 permanent players, which would mean that a couple of them, or 3 of them, could potentially have to be a loan. Now, where can you go for a loan, and there's no limit on the number of loan deals? Just asking.
Yeah. Look, I said on Tuesday night I thought we get 1 in on loan. But I wasn't expecting the number of outgoings. That's looking like Manquillo's gone. He's in Spain. I saw the video of him. He's gone to link up with Rafa, as Pete said. We have to get on to Lascelles as well, because those Besiktas rumors were around in the summer as well. So there's no smoke without fire there on that front. And then it's how much would we get for him? His contract is dwindling down as well. Or are they going to hang about and pick him up for nothing in the summer? But yeah, places in the squad, but will we fill them? Do they believe there's still something worth fighting for, like we believe, like FA Cup and getting into Europe, or are they going to sit on it and go mad in the summer?
I think as well, what might be worth a conversation, boys, very quickly, obviously, but is there anybody else in that list who we can see being removed, either because they're going to get sold or, kind of stood down, or could it be that, we kind of decide that, we don't need them in the squad to, again, create even more spaces? I know we're already on 4, and maybe I'm getting a bit overexcited here, but is there anybody else within that squad who we think that Newcastle could look to move on? Because, I'm just saying, just to have a look at the list. I don't know, are we going to loan any of the players out? Would it be worthwhile loaning anyone else? I don't know.
Chris, the obvious one for me is obviously Paul Dummett. Paul Dummett his contract's out in the summer. Whether they would release him now or give him like a big send off, I've always thought in my mind that we haven't had a testimonial for a player for a long time.
No,
and I've always thought, I can't remember who I was saying it to. It might have been Alex Hurst, but I remember saying it to him like, I have the mindset that I do think that they want to give him a testimonial, but they still could, even if he moved on, they could still give him that testimonial in the summer to kind of give him the farewell. But if we wanted to make that space, if we were desperate to make that space, for me, you've got Paul Dummett and of course Matt Ritchie, because they're the players that we've talked about, boys, isn't it? That we've had them on the bench. Eddie's not wanted to use them. Like, it goes back to my point that we, and we've all three of us have said it time and time again.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to use those players off the bench, if you don't trust them to come on the pitch and do a job, then why have them? But they're my kind of standard.
Can Mark Gillespie get a testimonial as well? If you give him one to Richie and Dummett, might as well give him one too.
How long has he been at the club?
He's not been here that long, I don't think.
But he started in Newcastle, didn't he, as well?
He did.
Yeah, he might qualify that way.
He might qualify, yeah. Is there anyone further down on that list?
Yeah.
Is there any other?
What, Gillespie?
Yeah. So you're right, Pete. I think the two standouts are Dummett and Ritchie, and I agree with you. I think Paul Dummett isn't going anywhere. I think I could see Paul Dummett finishing his career at Newcastle and then maybe going on the coaching staff, because has Paul Dummett really got the appetite to go and play Championship League One football? Or is he just going to take a job at Newcastle? You know what I mean? He's at home. He's comfortable. You could class him as a legend of the club. I mean, he's been a great servant. That's what I would say. And I think he probably would have a job for life if he wanted one. But Matt Ritchie, I think he would like to move that back down south. We've heard the rumours, and also I think he can still do a job for the Championship club, definitely. So I could see Matt Ritchie going, but I don't know about Dummett because Dummett's at home, isn't he? So why would Dummett go and why would Dummett go elsewhere?
There'll be no one down south for him. They're all heading up to Newcastle.
yeah, true. Yeah,
I've got one more name to throw at you. What do you think about Matt Target?
Oh, do you know what? I think it's only because of the injury. Or was it February?
Yeah, I think he might be back in February. So, I don't know if you boys have seen
Willock.
Yeah, Willock's
on the bike.
Yeah, Instagram, and they're both training. And I think he put on there on the way back now. There's rumours that Willock could potentially be back soon. He put another post out that he was very happy in saying it was a good day, and he was playing the tunes that get played at the stadium on match days. I can't remember the song now.
Was it a lovely day?
Possibly. The song's gone out my mind now, but I knew it because it's what we play. It's what we play on match days. My mind's gone blank. But yeah, I don't know if it had that connection to him being back playing potentially. Could well be that Matt Target, who was meant to be out for 3 months, and it's getting around that period now. That could be the other option. But look, we're not saying all these players are going to go, but these are all options.
How much do we get from that Target, boys?
So we paid 12 million for him, didn't we?
Yeah, we had the 3 million loan fee, and then we paid the 12 permanent, which made it 15 in total.
9 million.
Yeah, we don't get that 12 back.
No.
We've got loads of questions and comments and suggestions of names in the chat as well. I'm starring them along the way, but just maybe put a bit of context on some of the players we're talking about. Ian Toon Trader asked the question: are these just rumors? Are there any substance to them?
So the names that we've just talked about already.
Yes, most of the ones we've talked about have some substance. They've been linked in the media.
This is what we do on the Full Loaded Transfer Show. Like, we will always go through those that have been linked in the media. And look, we're the players that we've been linked with today that we've just talked about so far on the show. They are players that have been linked by trusted Newcastle United journalists that have got a lot right. So Craig Hope goes without saying. Some people like him, some people don't. Some people think that he's quite negative with a lot of his news because it does seem to be negative news that come out. But 9 times out of 10, he does put out the right stuff with regards to Newcastle news, particularly with regards to transfers. Mark Douglas is the same. He's got some fantastic contacts. So those links are coming from good places, 100%. So those names that we've already talked about so far. Now, what we will do in part of this show is give our own opinions, and we'll throw names out there on players. And there's some that we've obviously got pre-ready. There's some that we might have in our head that we might throw out there. Now, they're obviously not links. They're just names that we know of and we've looked at and we think could potentially come in and do a job. So this is what we like to do. We like to have those sort of conversations and kind of make it an open forum. And what we love even more so is the fact that you guys and girls in the chat throw your names as well. We've got so many questions that we're going to get through for names and players that you have already put out there. So look, we try and make it as open as possible. It's not about kind of spreading any sort of fake news from our perspective, our three perspective. I want to try and make it as open and real as possible. So yeah, all the links that are there, boys. But look, what I wanted to do, unless you boys wanted to go in a different direction, if you got anything you wanted to bring up at this moment, because I wanted to talk a little bit about, we've already had the conversation about these two boys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Javi Manquillo and Jamal Lascelles. Now, Daz, just run us back through some of the information with regards to Javi Manquillo, because you flashed up the breaking news initially at the beginning of the show. So what is the situation with it, like that you've seen so far?
Yeah. Yes, my sources at 360 Twitter alerted me to the fact on my phone. I made sure that he's in Spain. So he's obviously over there for a medical, not on holiday, hopefully, or he's from Spain. But and yes, it looks like he's going to Celta Vigo, linking up with Rafa. Of course, he's followed Rafa around a bit. If you think, well, he was at Liverpool as well. I always thought Manquillo was a good, solid player for us. He's a good kind of player in a rotation that you could play in a number of different positions. When he came on, he did a job for us. He hasn't got a look in. But we've gone past that now as well. We've got our regulars. We've got Byrne and Trippier, and then we've got Tino, who was absolutely class. Another one I never want to lose, by the way. And we've got Hall as well. So his role is diminished. So it makes sense to get him off of the books. And I know people as well had in the chat earlier on Manquillo about Tom was off straight off the bat, alerting us to the Manquillo and Lascelles. Cheers, Tom. But people were asking about the fee. I've not heard anything about the fee, and DXK, who asked the same question, answered it as well. He heard it was nominal, so 1 million or so. So you imagine it's not going to be much for Manquillo, but again, it all adds up, and it's another wage off the books. And then in terms of Lascelles, it was the Besiktas. It came from a Turkish journalist today, and a few more Newcastle-based journalists have picked up on that and going on that then. And how much do we get for him? I don't know. He's only got like 6 months left in his contract or so. So it's not going to be massive money either. And then it's the question of, will Howe want to let him go? Because I know he said in the press conference that and I know he has to play it straight back when he's asked these questions, but that he sees him the long-term future at the club, but he says that about everything. You can't really trust what he says, and that's the way he has to answer. But it'd be interesting if Jamal Lascelles is interested in going elsewhere, and again that would bring in some more money, I think, and another wage off the books. And people are saying as well, he's been with us for so long. Like it will be a nice kind of little chunk of change, I suppose, towards the FFP PSR thing. So depending on how much we get. So.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, Daz has made some great points with regards to Manio and the sales. Chris, what were your initial thoughts when you saw that not just one, but two are on their way?
I thought it was great news. We've spoken on this channel, haven't we, a lot, boys, both in Squad Games 1 and Squad Games 2, saying that there's a lot of players that we need to move on. Obviously, we thank them for the time at the club, but it's time to move on, and really they should have moved on a long time ago. So getting rid of 2 players' wages off the wage bill is huge, absolutely huge. Now, I think I said to you boys earlier in the chat today, like, of that list, Jamal Lascelles would probably be at the bottom of that list in terms of who we need to get rid of. Like, I wouldn't have a problem keeping Jamal Lascelles till at least the summer. However, if an opportunity has presented itself and we can get a few quid for Jamal Lascelles, I think we snap the hands off. And we know Besiktas have been interested in the past in him. So I think you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. And I think as soon as somebody comes in with an offer, put some money on the table, you take the opportunity to shift. I know that some people will say, we've got no cover for Shah, and I do agree. But whether that progresses us to move for the right centre back that maybe we're looking at, I don't know. Whether that means that we just try and keep tight, and we've got Emil Kraft there who can do a job. I know ideally he's not a right centre back, because otherwise we keep hold of Jamal Lascelles. We don't use him because, let's say, Fabian Schär stays fit for the rest of the season, and then we lose Jamal Lascelles on a free at the end of the season, and we go, well, we just lost out on 4 million there. Because let's be honest, boys, we're talking from the start of February till the end of May, so it's not that big a time period. And I think as soon as somebody puts any kind of hard cash on the table, we've got to take note, and we've got to be interested. Not for all the players, but certainly for the ones that we know that within the next 6, 12, 18 months we want to move on. I think it's an offer that the club have to consider very seriously.
Yeah, I would agree. I think if you've got an opportunity to get money for any player with 6 months left on their contract, you have to consider it. Bearing in mind we only got Jamal Lascelles and Cole Darlow for 5 million together. If we were to get sort of 5 million plus for Jamal Lascelles, he's a captain. He's played Champions League football this season. Yes, he's only got 6 months left on his contract, but it might well command a little bit more. I don't think we're getting anything more than 10 million for him, but if we got something like 8, I think that'd be great. That'd be good money, great money for him. Manio has barely kicked a ball, so for me, the kind of messages going around on the chat about like sort of 1 million rising to 2, or just 1 million in itself, I think that's more than a fair deal for him. A good servant to the club, but what it does, it gets wages off the wages out of the club. Jamal Lascelles is probably on 70, 80 grand a week. That's a lot of money to be saved. That's money that could be invested potentially. That 80 grand a week could be invested into a really good loan signing potentially to pay for, and then that loan signing goes back in the summer, and that 80,000 a week can get put into a new signing in the summer, a top signing that can pay the chunk of their wages. So it all kind of mounts up, and it's all really, really important. The only question mark I have, boys, is that are we going to be left light in that centre-back position unless we sign somebody? That's the only thing, the question mark. Now, we know, and Chris, I think you mentioned it with regards to Kraft and Dummett, and there's players that can play there, but the way that Jamal Lascelles came in and did a job for the team, like he played well for long parts of his spell when Botman was out. And all it takes is an injury for that to be back again. So for me, and that's the only thing that I'm not quite convinced on. But as we've just talked about, boys, we looked at the squad and we looked at how many spaces are available. Does it mean that we get another centre back in there as a replacement? There's a player that 2 players, in fact, that we haven't talked about, that I'll bring up now. And yes, They are British-based players or players that play in this country.
Surprise!
Surprise, surprise. Lloyd Kelly at Bournemouth, who's got 6 months left on his contract himself, or Tosin Adarabioyo at Fulham, who are both talented players that are both having good seasons at their respective clubs. Toby Adarabioyo at Fulham, Lloyd Kelly.
Mike mentioned Tosin earlier as well.
So, could it mean that we get or move on Jamal Lascelles for, say, 5 million, and we pay something similar or maybe a little bit more for a younger like-for-like replacement and bring that player in on a longer-term contract? Someone that's probably got the years and the credentials to be better than Jamal Lascelles. That could be the alternative, potentially. But we're just obviously throwing out the potential there.
This is it. Yeah, this is it. I was going to say, Pete, before, the reason I was laughing when you were talking, when you were saying, like, there's a potential risk, that we might have injuries and, we might regret selling Jamal Lascelles. I was going to be ironic and say injuries. What are injuries? I mean, all season, this is all that's happened, hasn't it? I mean, surely we've had a lot of bad luck with injuries. Surely we can't. Surely it's got to stop. It's got to stop. It really, really has.
My suggestion there, Pete, I put it in the chat as well today when I heard about this. I was like, why can't they do a deal with Sporting Lisbon for Osman Diame, or whatever his surname is, I can't pronounce it, who's playing for Ivory Coast in the African Cup of Nations. Give them some magic beans for now, and then pay the money in the summer. Do some kind of a deal like that. But yeah, look, because we are looking at him. We the scouts are looking at him. It is probably one for the summer, but that's who I'd love to come in there and be the successor for Shar into the future and rotating until then.
Yeah,
but it's not going to happen in January.
He was interestingly he played today against Nigeria, or up against Osimhen. Yeah.
Can I throw a curveball in, only because we were talking about it today and it kind of feeds into what Daz has just said then. And Pete, apologies if you were going to this, so I do apologise for that.
No, definitely.
We're talking about Jamal Lascelles potentially leaving. We're talking about the need for another centre back. I know technically he's not a right centre back, but I think he could still do the job. And also we're talking about needing a central midfielder. So the two clubs I wanted to bring up were Everton and Nottingham Forest, because as we know, things are a little bit tight at the moment at those two clubs. And I was talking to my friend today about Jared Branthwaite, and I was saying, he's playing well, he's looking good, and apparently it's still 100 million from what I've heard. And I said, I don't think it's going to be 100 million. I said, I think if somebody comes in with 50, 60 million, I think you'll soon find that your club would be interested in selling Jared Branthwaite. And I think even lesser figure, arguably, for Morgan Gibbs-White at Nottingham Forest, or maybe even Murillo. Another option. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is because obviously we're talking centre-backs, we're talking central midfielders. And as we know, Morgan Gibbs-White has played off the right. So it could be a good not a replacement, but a good option other than Miggy. We've spoken about Morgan Gibbs-White and we've spoken about Jared Branthwaite before, but they are both English. So I just wanted to know your thoughts, because we haven't really touched on it in terms of we're struggling in this January transfer window, and we're obviously trying to scrape some money together. But there's clubs in worse positions than us at the moment. Do you think Everton or Forest would crumble if this is over the smokescreen and we've got all our money ready and we're just sitting there waiting to pounce? Do you think Everton or Forest would maybe consider those offers if they came in?
First of all, I'm Braithwaite, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this, but I was talking to a source Let's say.
Okay.
Yeah, no, like someone that watches the channel, and they mentioned discussion. He's watching this. He's probably having a good laugh.
Can I? Sorry,
But-
guys, I've got to interrupt. I'm trying to look for the breaking news button, but I can't. Sorry if I'm seeing happy here.
No, this isn't breaking news.
My son's just ran in then. He was a blue, by the way, and he's got a big grin on his face. And apparently, Mohamed Salah's just suffered a hamstring injury.
Yeah.
And it could be a long-term injury.
Yeah. And apparently, I've just
saying
seen it pop up. Apparently, he's out of the Africa Cup of Nations and could be out longer.
Yeah. Big problem that for the old title challenge. Just
Typical that we've already played them twice, though, Chris.
I
Yeah.
know.
Typical.
I know. Oh, sorry, Dad. Sorry, mate. Sorry for cutting you.
Yeah, no. Long story short, we're meant to be very interested in Braithwaite. Very, very interested in him. So that would tie in with the narrative as well. You know, get to the summer. We're looking at centre backs. We'll be talking about those on the continent. And Eddie, how will we be thinking of those playing in the Premier League? So so we are looking at him. Is what I heard.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think a lot of clubs will be, because to be fair, he does look impressive. He's only 21. Obviously, we know that he's been out on loan. I think it was Blackburn, and who was the other team he went out on loan? Blackburn, and I want to say Carlisle. I could be wrong though. And then obviously went to PSV, and he won the Dutch Cup with them, and then came back to Everton. And he's had a good season. He has had a good season. He's been one of their better players this season. And big lads, I think he's 6'5" from memory.
He's from Carlisle, I think.
Bill. Is he from Carlisle? He went on loan. He
Yeah.
did go on loan to a lower league club, and maybe that's where I've got Carlisle from. It might be, might be that. But he did go on loan to a lower league club as well. But Pete, sorry mate, I'm jumping in for you there. What are your thoughts on Braithwaite and Morgan Gibbs-White?
Morgan Gibbs-White, look, it kind of feeds into another player that we've been linked with, because
that's all I'm doing tonight. It's all I'm doing.
Deflection.
Yeah,
it's not deflection. It kind of
in general, we're all bouncing off onto another player.
It kind of fits in together, because we have been talking about sort of Edison and the links with him. They seem to be sort of ramping up. There's talks about Steve Nixon going over to watch him play. There's also links that, you know, we could be potentially going in with a bid for him. Like, if we're going to go and pay sort of 40, 50 million for Edison, you know, we could quite easily go and spend that money on Morgan Gibbs-White. Now, they're kind of different type of players. I would say Morgan Gibbs-White is more of a sort of an attacking midfielder. He likes to get forward more and link the play. He can do the other job as well, but Edison is more of a number 8 who can sit in and do a job as a number 6. He's not an ideal number 6, but he can play there and be an alternative to Bruno Guimaraes. So they are different, but they're both, I think, probably cost around the same. So why not? Why not? If you're going to go and spend that money on Edison, why couldn't you go and spend that money on Morgan Gibbs-White? And actually, because of Forest's situation, they might be more likely to want to sell, because he is one of their assets that they're actually probably could get quite a bit of money from. So that's the thing that you've got to try and take advantage from. With Braithwaite, I just think there'll be a lot of top clubs that will be in for him, and not just from this country. I think he would probably cost about 60 million to get. And it's whether we would want to invest 60 million on a centre-back when you've got Botman and when you've got Shaw, who could potentially keep playing there. Now, we know we want a right-sided centre-back to replace Shaw.
And Braithwaite is a left-sided centre-back.
And he's a left-sided centre-back.
Yeah.
So for me, so it's whether we would want to go and invest that. Now, Newcastle United have proven before that they can and they will. Alexander Isak, Sandro Tonali, Bruno Gomes. Like we can go and do that, but it's whether it would be right for us to do that. And I just think there'll be a lot of teams interested in him that could potentially cause a kind of bidding war. And I don't think Newcastle are into bidding wars. I think Newcastle are into going in there, getting a player agreed, and getting them out. That's what they're into. I don't think they're into this bidding war and all the rest of it. Like Arsenal and Man City last season with Declan Rice. Like Newcastle ain't going to get involved in that. They'll go, right, this is what we want to pay. Are you going to accept it, or we'll go elsewhere? And they'll just lay it on the table. This is what we can pay this right now. You want it, take it, and we'll go elsewhere. And I think that for me is where we probably won't get him. We'll probably look in another direction. But that's just me. But he's a super talented player. It's just it's a shame in one sense, but in one sense it's not, that we've got an equally and even better super talented player in Sven Botman. Like I wouldn't trade him for anybody.
No, I wouldn't.
That's just, like I say, it's for me. But it's an interesting one because teams will be looking at Everton and Forest, and I heard something today that was quite interesting with regards to Everton, because I'd heard that not only have obviously they breached for the second time, that there's actually a chance that they could have breached for a third time, and that could come into an effect next year. That's kind of what I've heard. I haven't done any kind of digging on that. I don't really care, but I'd heard it. So yeah, they could be in a difficult position, and we didn't bring it up. And I thought it was a really, really interesting conversation. In that, actually, I didn't realize that the club that Isaac Hayden was on loan at is part owned by 777, who are trying to buy Everton, and that he left because they couldn't afford the wages. That they're in a really difficult position right now, 777. And actually, if that takeover falls through, Everton are in an absolute mess, potentially. And that could not be good for them. And this is why I think, this is why I think they'll be looking for a bidding war for Brandwidth, because I think he'll be their biggest asset to sell. Most of their players can't stay fit. A lot of them aren't great. They can't really generate a lot of money for their players apart from him. So he'll be their biggest selling point. So they're going to want to get as much for him as possible.
Yeah, it's him and the two players I think they'll get decent money for is Branthwaite and Onana. But Onana keeps getting linked with clubs, but he's not. No one's coming in for him, which is exactly the same as when he was at Lille. He got, I think it was Lille, or was it Lyon? Lyon or Lille, where Everton signed him from. And Everton came in and paid decent money for Onana, but nobody else was interested in him. And I was a bit like, And he's been linked, with big moves elsewhere since he's joined Everton, but nobody's actually put the cash on the table, which leads me to believe, is he as hyped up as everyone maybe thinks?
It was interesting. There has been a few teams sniffing around, but for what I've seen of him recently, I don't think he's played that well. I don't think he's playing that well. And it might well be putting teams off, that the fact that he's so sort of inconsistent. He has really good games, but some games he just disappears and he doesn't look great at all. But yeah, I think they're players that will continue to be linked throughout. There's no doubt about it. But look, we've got a few other players that we can throw out there. And there was a few. I want to get your opinions on this, because there's no links here, although one or two have been linked before. But if we were desperate and we needed somebody to come in to do a job,
he's going to bring up Jeff Hendrick, isn't he?
Oh, bring Jeff Hendrick back in again.
Currently not attached to the club whatsoever. I want to get your thoughts on this. This is kind of like, I suppose it's a devil's advocate type of conversation.
We like them.
But yeah, just say we needed a player. It was getting towards just beginning of deadline day. we need a player to come in and do a job in various different positions, I should add. These are free agents that are currently available right now. And I've just picked 3 out from the list. There are others, but maybe not as high profile. Would you take this man, David De Gea?
Ooh.
Free transfer, added into the squad, takes Dubravka out the team, who has been playing well last couple of games, I might add. Would you take David De Gea?
Okay. A couple of weeks ago, if I had no other option of goalkeepers, because I was all on Mamashvili, I would have considered him. But the way Dubravka has been playing, he's impressed me over the last while. Now we're still leaking goals, but he's done well. And Pope was back? Is it around Easter time? April, maybe? It's going to be a while. Maybe he's going to be out for the rest of the season as well. But if we're stuck with Everton, if he'd have to, okay, with De Gea, he'd have to really he'd have to be opposed to getting a third of the wages he was getting Man United. Then I'd bring him in as a short stopgap measure. But I don't think he will. I don't think he'll. I know he's on nothing now. He's got no club, but. So it's. I think it's in all, in summary, it's a no.
Okay, Chris, are you with Daz, or have you got a different kind of thought process to that?
I think I was. I think I kind of stuck me flag in the ground like Graham Souness. I was. I said a while back that for me, I still feel like we need a number one. I'd like one now, but at the moment, I'd just take anyone. So I'm not going to be greedy. I'll quite happily wait till the summer. I think if we were to bring David De Gea in now, it'd have to be at the expense of someone like Loris Karius, or if Dubravka went out himself, or even Gillespie. But as I've said to you boys before, I don't think Gillespie's going anywhere. I think.
Why would he?
Well, that's what I mean. He's loving life, isn't he? So no, I think no would be the answer for me. I can see why you're saying it, Pete, and people still aren't overly convinced by Dubravka, even though he has improved a lot in recent weeks. He's been playing well, and fair credit to him. But I don't think I would bring De Gea in, because even he's not getting his 350 grand a week he was on at Man United, but I still think he would command at least 100 grand a week. And I just don't know. I think the money would be better spent elsewhere. I'd rather go and get a number one. I really would.
So would I. I'd rather permanent rather than just a stopgap measure. And we know money is tight anyway. It would be at the expense of not getting one of the other names that we've talked about, or a low one or whatever. So that's why I'm saying no.
That's why Mamardashvili. Yeah. That's why Mamardashvili appealed so much, because. He's someone who you can invest in, someone who you can go, right, you're my number one. I like what Tottenham did. They went out and got Vicario. I didn't know anything about Vicario, but they've done the scouting. They've not paid silly money, and they've just gone, you're the number one, trust you in the team, and he's been brilliant this season. I'd love us to go and do that. Go and find a bit of an unknown. Not saying Mamardashvili's unknown, but go and pluck a goalkeeper, and just say you are the number one now, and just go with that. That's what I'd like to do.
I think we have to be realistic though here. Like even with what Graham Bailey was saying, if we want to throw our hat in the ring from him, it's definitely a summer job, because he's going to cost big money. So I think it's De Gea or we're sticking with Dubravka is the two options that are on the table. Are possible, let's say, not on the table, but possible.
Yeah, possible. Yeah, I know what you mean. Would you, Pete?
I'm not a massive fan of Dubravka anyway. You know that. You boys know that. I actually think he has been playing really well the last few games. I'm just worried whether that's going to continue or not. And a more established goalkeeper would probably be more consistent. Like, as much as obviously Dubravka's attachment with Man United and what people think about him. Like, he got the Golden Glove last season. Like, he got the most clean sheets of anyone in the Premier League. And so he is capable of keeping out for a lot of games over a period of time. And I think we need that. I do think Dubravka, although he does play really, really well, is susceptible to a poor game or a poor moment where he concedes goals, and that's what I do worry about with him. But look, is it the priority right now? I don't think it is. I don't think it's the priority to change the goalkeeper. So for me, if the loan or any money could be used elsewhere, I'll probably go with that. So I would say no right now. But it was because we talked about it before January, that I thought I'd bring it back up, because I had a feeling that our stances may have changed on bringing in a goalkeeper at this point. To be fair, it makes sense. I'm going to throw these names out now.
Yeah, go on, mate.
There's two more free agents, and then we're going to go over to some loans, and we'll throw them out. Get your opinions on this. This man, Jesse Lingard, free transfer. Even Scholesy's been having a go at him recently, telling him to sort himself out and stop playing football, stop spending too much time in the gym. Would you take him? And I'll be very specific here. Would you take him to be an alternative to Miguel Almiron on the right hand side? I know he predominantly plays left, but he can play on the right hand side as well. Would you bring him in to play that role?
Can I have another look at Matt Ritchie, please? That's my answer here. No, I don't want Jesse Lingard. No, that ship has sailed. And I know he may have wanted to come to us that time in Man United, the way Man United played. Mad Dog is having none of it either. But no, I don't want Jesse Lingard. No, no thanks. Done.
Yep, same.
It would depend on a couple of things. I think because I'm desperate now. I just want someone. I just want someone. No. In all seriousness, I think because I feel like with Jesse Lingard, he's got something to prove. And I'm not going to lie, I did like the video where he was like, I wanted to move to Newcastle. And we knew that he wanted to make that move. And you mentioned it the other day, Pete, when you were talking about, who was it you were talking about? Saying that, Calvin Phillips, and you were saying that you admired him because he was on massive wages, but he wanted to go and play football. Yeah. And that's what Jesse Lingard wanted to do. He was on massive wages at Man United. He knew he was running his contract arm, but he wanted to go and play football. Now, I know it didn't go well at Forest. I certainly wouldn't be paying him 200 grand a week. Do not get me wrong. I would not be paying him 200 grand a week. But I wouldn't see a problem in saying to Jesse Lingard, come in till May. We'll give you 60, 70, 80 grand a week. I wouldn't go above that. And I'd just go to him, go and put yourself in the shop window. And for me, it's another body. It's somebody who, on his day, could offer something to this squad. And a bit like what we were talking about the other day, Pete. If you offered me an ex-England international Jesse Lingard who's played for Man United, banging goals in at West Ham, if you can get that player back, what an option off the bench. And if I don't want obligations, I don't want permanent signings, but if you're offering me till May, and you say to him, and on reasonable wages, he's not got many options, has he? We've got his back to the wall a little bit. If you said to him 60, 70 grand a week, you could even give him an appearance-based contract or a performance-based contract. For goals, assists. You could, because at the moment it's not like he's got clubs queuing up trying to get him. So why not? And did you say, Pete, that Scholes have been having a go at him for being in the gym? Did you say?
Yeah, there was an Instagram, like, not an exchange, but he put a comment on there because it was a picture of him in the gym just training, and Scholes was like, "Are you gonna play some football and sort yourself out?" It was something along those lines. I think it was said in joke. I think obviously they're mates. I think it was said in joke, but I think there was an element of truth to that. Because he hasn't played football like all season. He just hasn't.
I mean, the fact that he's trying to keep himself fit, like, I'd rather do that than see him, like on a Milan catwalk or something, or just like messing around on TikTok like he does sometimes. I think there's worse places to see him, not playing football, if I'm being honest. But Dad, sorry mate, I interrupted you there.
Yeah, no, the chat are all saying no, hell no, absolutely not, blah 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 in the chat. But do you remember the picture of Jesse Lingard with the parrot on his shoulder?
No,
I'll dig it out. Anyway, I just want to say I'd rather the parrot come instead of Jesse Lingard. That's what I'd like. I'll find it. I'll find the picture.
Find it, please.
yeah.
I just put it out there for you boys. I wouldn't take it personally. I wouldn't. I think he's had too much time out of football now to come and play at the level that we want him to play at. He's not played football all season. Imagine how long that's going to take for Eddie Howe to get him fit. But again, these are kind of the more highlighted players. Now, an interesting one I didn't really know was on a free transfer at the moment. The ex-Bayern Munich right winger, Douglas Costa.
Oh,
Brazilian, 33 years old though, has had potential. Brazilian international, can play on the right or the left. I didn't realize he was the free transfer. That was an interesting one. I just thought I'd bring it out to the table. Talk to us.
Newcastle United have lodged a bid for the parrot. I found the parrot. Here it is.
You didn't, man.
You had me.
You didn't. Can't believe it.
When you said lodged a bid as well. Wow. You had me then, mate. Honestly, I was thinking that. I was like that when you put the picture up. I was like,
the parrot
back to Douglas Costa.
Yeah.
But yeah, Douglas Costa, interesting one. Would you take Douglas Costa on a free transfer? He's played at the highest level of the game, won trophies, can score a goal. Talented player.
Douglas Costa, FIFA Legends, like the pace. Yeah. I mean, Daz will tell you on Football Manager, the pace.
Football Manager. That's how I know him from, and I know. Yeah. Did he go to Russia or somewhere like that?
I think so. Yeah, it was Spartak. Was it Spartak? Was it Spartak?
Who knows?
Yeah,
someone will know in the chat.
I wonder what he's like now, though. I bet you Foxy knows a thing or two about him.
Yeah, he will do.
He's 33 years old. Did you say that, Pete? Sorry, mate.
33.
Yeah, 33. He Shakhtar. He was at.
Oh, was it Shakhtar?
He was at Shakhtar. Yeah. He's at LA Galaxy.
Interesting.
He's at LA Galaxy. He was recently at LA Galaxy.
Yeah. It's probably past it now.
Oh yeah, I don't know now. I'm not so sure now. When there was a picture of him in his buying kit. Now that you've told me he was at LA Galaxy, yeah, I'm not so sure. But listen. If I'm taking Lingard, I've got to take Douglas Costa, haven't I? You know what I mean? Honestly, I'd take anyone.
The parrot.
The parrot. I love the parrot.
Definitely. Boys, I'm gonna shoot over to the loan signings. Okay. A few loan signings that are potentially, and look, there's so many, but I've just picked out a few. There could be many more people in the chat. If you've got any other potential loan signings that we could do, throw their names out as well. One loan signing. I'm jumping over to Saudi for this one. I'm not going to lie. Gabriel Vega. Currently, he was linked with Newcastle United. Would he be someone that you would take at Newcastle United for our midfield? Talented player. I think he's only 21 years old. Got bags of potential and doing wonders over there as well. What do you think, boys?
Yes, definitely. Look, I haven't seen how he's getting on out in Saudi, but he was Celta Vigo. He was at, wasn't it? He was doing really. I wanted us to get him that last in the summer. So yes, and look at great age, and he's someone that Eddie Howe could develop. I'd like to see if we were to go to for him, it'd be kind of loan to buy kind of option. But yeah, I'd like to see him rocking up in Newcastle.
Chris, 7 goal contributions in 15 games. Just 15 games for Alhi. What do you think? Centre midfielder, a position that we need?
I mean, I've set my bar ridiculously low now, haven't I? Because I've just said I'll take anyone. I was having a parrot about 30 seconds ago. So I mean, if I then turn around to you now and went, I don't want Gabby Vega. No, not for me. But no, in all seriousness.
A question for you there. Sorry, Chris. Would you take Neville Southall as a backup for Dubrovka?
That's brilliant. I can tell you what, he'd cover most of the goal. That's half the battle, isn't it? No, but you know what? Forget the Lingard talk and all that. Yeah, Gabby Vega, yeah, of course. And I think he's a player that we were interested in previously, wasn't he? And you know, the only thing is, I'm now starting to think, you know, the way that Darren Eales and Eddie Howe were so adamant that we weren't going to get any Saudi loans, and then we've seen what's happened with Jordan Henderson, who's now had his contract terminated and he's joining Ajax, which I'm not going to get into the FFP side of things. I'm not going to go there, but my only thing with the Saudi players is I just don't know whether I don't know what the blocker is, what the stop is. That's my only concern. But as a player, Gabby Vega, yeah, I mean, a player we've looked at. Can he adapt to the Premier League? Who knows? But he's got all the talent, and there was a lot of clubs interested in him. So yeah, definitely, I would definitely be interested in Gabby Vega.
He is, and he looks a super talented player. He really does.
Yeah.
A lot of people are angry at the fact that he's gone over to Saudi so young. I don't think he'll be there for long. I just think at some point he's going to come back to Europe, and I would love him to be a Newcastle player because I do think he would light up the Premier League. I really do. Look, we'll move on. I'll throw another player out there for you. Maybe I'm bringing the mood down slightly here, but going back to an old flame. Would you take Hugo Ekitike? Would you take Hugo Ekitike on loan from PSG? To be fair, currently of interest of a few teams in Germany. I think Eintracht Frankfurt are potentially looking at him on loan. Obviously, we didn't get him, you know, when we expected to the other summer. Would you take him now on the loan? Can play on either wing, can play as a forward, versatile. In issues with attitude, though, what do you think, boys? Talk to me.
Well, I'm not as desperate as Chris, but yes, I would take Hugo Ekitike. Yeah, look, we really wanted him. Remember that deadline day move, and I don't really blame him so much because he was so young. It was a deadline day. He had to make a split decision on that day. And we had set up the show that we're signing him that day as well. We thought he was definitely coming, but he's gone to Paris, and you can't blame him going to PSG. It hasn't worked out for him at PSG at all. So he does need to kickstart his career again. And if the scouts in Newcastle are still interested, I would back him. To do something in Newcastle. Now he could come and have a terrible attitude, and then we're so getting him in on loan would and seeing how he is would be the right way to go about it. But I think he'll turn it around wherever he goes to next. It hasn't worked at PSG. It's too big a club to come into and look who he was competing with there for a while. It wasn't like Messi, Neymar, blah blah blah. You know, so. Yeah.
Chris, what's your thoughts, mate?
I'm surprised. I'm surprised, Dazzler, because I thought I was going to be swimming alone on this one. But the answer is yes. The answer is yes. I will take Ekatike because all jokes
We're desperate.
aside, we're definitely. I just want anyone. No, I'm joking. I am joking there. No. I've said this numerous times before. Like, and I agree with what you're saying, Daz. Like, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, and I think he would be the first person to say that he made a mistake in joining PSG. Not necessarily not joining Newcastle, just making that move to PSG. It hasn't worked out for him. But let's not forget, lads. Eddie, and the coaching staff and the owners, they were willing to pay big money for Ekatike. And if now, is it about us kind of swallowing our pride a little bit and go and him? And going, well, all right, we'll have a loan deal. I agree with Daz. Have a loan deal, see how it pans out. If he's an arsehole, which it sounds like he could be, send him back. But what if he gets his head down, embraces the club? The fans will soon turn their opinions round and love him. Because, as I say, we all make mistakes. But if he starts banging goals in, we're all going to love him. Let's be honest. I love him. I'm sure you boys will love him if he starts coming on and really transforming games and really putting in good performances and trying hard. Because that's what we ask for as a club. We want players to come in and try hard. And if they try hard and their attitude's right, fine. He's only a young lad. I think he made mistakes with the whole, enjoy picture and, but he's got his dream move to Paris, hasn't he? And no doubt because he rejected us, some Newcastle fans will have been giving him a bit of stick, and he probably enjoyed that. And he probably thought, yeah, I'll give him a little bit back. But it's all done in jest. It's all done in jest. It's all a bit of a joke at the time. He's got his dream move and he's thought, great, I'll kick on. It hasn't panned out for him. So he'd have to swallow his pride a little bit. But at the end of the day, if we were willing to pay that much money for Hugo Ekatike, he can't have turned into a bad player in 12 months, surely. So why not take a loan deal? It's not like we've got loads of options, boys, because we haven't. And if money's a little bit tight, PSG want him off the wage bill. PSG want him off the club. So why not take advantage of that? Why not take advantage and see if Eddie can work some magic with him till May? And as I say, if it doesn't work out, send him back and just think, oh God, thank God we didn't sign him permanently. But the lad's clearly got talent. So why would we not be interested in them?
Sorry, Pete. I'm going to let you get your say out. But while Chris is still in desperation mode, there's another option for you, Chris. And I think you're going to be all over this. It's a French winger, and he's known in these parts. Ben Arfa is 36, but could he cut the mustard?
Mate, I want him back. I mean, DXK, you may have seen this on a previous show, mate, but Hassan Ben Arfa is my all-time favourite Newcastle player. So even if Hassan Ben Arfa was 74, I'd still say yes. So,
if you're listening, Andy Carroll, you're his second favourite player.
Andy's close. Andy's close.
Jeff Hendrick, third.
No, I just remember the pain when Andy Carroll went, because it was horrible because he went to Liverpool. And I remember I was just about to play five-a-side football and all my mates had turned up in the pens and they were like, oh, bad news about Andy Carroll, isn't it? And I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, he's signing for Liverpool. And you know the way they show him getting on I think he got on a plane. Got on the plane and I was just like, no, it can't happen. This can't be happening. And then it did. But no, Hassan Ben Arfa, I'm sorry. We'd have to say, yeah. I'd have to. I just love him.
I love him.
Sorry, Pete, you were going to talk about Ekatike.
You know what? It's very, very clear in the chat that Rich Joblin does not want Ekatike. It's been very, very clear.
And Rich has also said, and I did see the tweet, that Sean Casey says, nothing is happening, no players are coming in. And we knew Sean has been saying this, but shut down the show. But there's something happening with all these moves outwards or potential moves. There's something happening in the background. I don't believe Sean will send another tweet later on, though, Rich. So keep an eye on Sean's other tweets.
Me and Sean have been opposite ends of the spectrum for the last 4 or 5 days. He's been adamant there's no one coming in. I've been adamant there is someone coming in. So we're at complete opposite ends of the spectrum here. I think there is.
Can I ask you something, boys? And not going off topic here, it's only a dead quick one. If we were to let Manio go and we were to let Lascelles go and we didn't bring anybody in, like, what would you think about that?
What's the point?
Yeah, but at the same time, we let
just to make money
John
for the
Joe
summer.
Shelby
We
go.
just saving for the summer. Yeah, we did.
Remember we let John Joe Shelby go, and we thought we were getting a replacement.
Well, we didn't have the injury crisis that we've had this season. Why would you let two players go? Like, okay, Manquillo different because he's had a groin injury and barely kicked a ball. But why would you let Jamal Lascelles go, who's actually played a significant amount of games this season? Why would you let him go when we haven't really got a replacement? If you're not willing to buy or loan a replacement, it just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But Pete, it didn't make sense to let Shelby go. Well, it did kind of because we got good money for him. And apparently,
we didn't have injuries though, mate. We didn't have the type of injuries.
But we were screaming for a central midfielder, and then we sold one of our central midfielders, and then it was like, hang on, what's going on? And then it was like, hang on, we're even worse off than what we were before. But it was money, a bit like what we've said about the cells. It was money we couldn't resist, and I'm playing me devil's advocate. I'm playing that card. That's what I'm doing because with Newcastle, you just never know. You just never. It wouldn't surprise me if we sold Jamal Lascelles centre back and Javier Manquillo right back, and then brought in like a lone left winger or something. It just wouldn't surprise me because we kind of go left field sometimes. Pardon the pun, but it's just weird how, I don't know. Sometimes I just wonder how certain decisions are made. But I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong.
Yeah. Look, I'll say very quickly. I was actually surprised at how many people said yes to Hugo Ekitike. I thought it'd be the other way around, but I would take him. I'd give him a chance. Well, why not? This is his perfect opportunity. He'd get minutes. He'd play matches.
Yeah, he would.
Great opportunity for him to show his ability. So yeah, why not? Last one, and we'll keep this really, really quick, just because I know we want to try and maybe get through a few questions. I've
50 questions.
Oh God. I've seen that Troy Deeney has been sacked by Forest Green. I think he's only been there like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Look at Ferguson as well.
Ferguson went. Yeah. So this will be the fourth manager this season, and we're in January.
Wow. That's crazy.
Interesting.
Last one from me, boys. And it's not the player that I've talked about before, but it's another player because I just think there's probably more chance of getting him out of this club. And it's Ferran Torres. He's not the centre midfielder that we're looking for. I'm hoping there's more than one signing coming in. I'm not going to lie. Ferran Torres coming from Barcelona. I've mentioned about Rafinha. I would love Rafinha at the club, but I think he probably plays more matches and more minutes. Tom Dixon, there you go. I would prefer Rafinha, but Ferran Torres could play anywhere across the front three. Would you boys take him on loan from Barcelona if the opportunity arose?
Yes, most definitely. I remember when I was in Salou, I was looking around for an Torres. Yeah, I definitely take him. If we got him on loan, yeah. But he does he want to come back to the Premier League though? He asked to leave Man City that time, and Pep let him go because he asked to leave. So that is the big question. But yeah, he's a quality player.
Chris, what are your thoughts?
I mean, you've just raised the bar incredibly there, Pete. Like I
don't worry, I'll lower it in a second.
Oh, thank you.
No.
And don't worry, I'll probably say yeah anyway. No, I
hope so. I hope you do to this one.
No, I think. I know who you're going to say. I would definitely take Ferran Torres. Pete, you're right. We're crying out for the central midfielder, but I also think we're crying out for the right winger. I really do. And I believe Ferran Torres can play either left or right. So again, it's just options. And Ferran Torres used to play in the false nine for City. He used to play as the false striker. Yeah. Again, another option. We know he knows where the back of the net is because he scored
goals. Yeah, he scored goals there. He did.
Yeah. So somebody like him would be brilliant because he'd fill two positions or three positions. Whether we could get him, I don't know. But again, I don't think Barca are that flush, even though I'm sure they'll magic some money out of the backside somewhere. But I think if he's not getting game time at Barca and he fancies coming back to to England. Not sure he does, but if he does, I think we'd definitely be interested, and he'd be a good signing.
I would definitely take him.
Yeah.
I would. For all the reasons that you boys have said, I think he's a quality player. He really, really is. Someone just put in there, and let me just I'd still the chat just for a second. Kenzie, I know I saw it. Yes, all day, every day. Torres, 35 million quoted too. So
Euro,
even better.
yeah.
So who's to say that it couldn't be a loan with an obligation in the summer to pay that sort of fee for him? I think is he 23, 24? I think if I'm right in thinking, I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's a great age, that's for sure.
He is
Great age.
great age.
So therefore it would be a great deal. And there are just a few names that we put out. We'll in another show down the line. We'll throw a few more names out of different players. Some good, some bad.
23 Pete.
23, perfect. Great. That is a great age. Look, I'm going to bring this up because a few people have mentioned it in the chat. Look, I don't think it's going to happen, but it's been linked with us. Karim Benzema exploring all his options. I'm pretty sure he's on like 600 grand a week. Like how we cover that his wages, I've got no idea. But would I take him? You're damn right I would. The guy is unreal. But yeah, boys, we'll just imagine that on deadline day. His boy suiting and booting. Oh, did we decide it? Are we going to suit and boot?
Yeah, you decided first, Pete. I think we are.
Yeah.
You signed us
I
up.
think we need to.
I didn't decide first.
I think we need to. Yeah, because we said about the Saudi ties, didn't we? We said about the Saudi ties.
I
don't know if I've got a green tie, but I should look.
No, neither do I. and the green screen, it'll go invisible.
Chris, the Jim White yellow tie.
Oh, I have a yellow one.
Yeah, there you go.
Chris, one for you. Go along with Neville Southall. Jan Molby.
Jan Molby is free. Now, Mike, I can definitely say no to Jan Molby. I would definitely say no to Jan Molby. That is one I would say no to. I wasn't expecting Jan Molby, but no, I would say no to Jan
Molby. Brilliant. Love it.
Right, lads, will we do like a quick fire because we've got 51 and they're mainly names of who.
Yeah, okay.
Right. Right. I hope everyone has smashed the like button already, by the way.
And we've had 10 new subs tonight. 10 new subs. So if you haven't yet subbed in, you're new, you're watching the channel right now, come and join us, come and sub along. And as Dad said, click that like button. Great to have loads of new subscribers to the channel. Great to see you all in the chat as well.
Okay, let's go. Rapid fire. Connie Nielsen says Joshua Kimmich and Ederson in the summer. Yay or nay? Yay.
Yay.
100%. We had Christian Falk talked about this, and we were just like, "What? Are you kidding me?" Like, he has fallen out with Tuchel though.
Yeah. I'd love Joshua Kimmich. Jesus, what a player.
They have Eric Dyer now as well. So yeah,
traded up, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Wharton of Blackburn. DXK says Wharton of Blackburn. Yeah, he's been Adam Wharton. He's a football manager name as well. A lot of people are watching him. I watched a bit of a Blackburn game who was in. It didn't stand out to me in that part of the game I saw, but he's highly regarded.
For now, I would say no, only because I think we need, like Pete said, tried and tested. On the subject of Blackburn, my eldest lad, his mate plays for Blackburn, Jake Garrett. So he's a bit of an up and comer as well. Who's in Blackburn? He's in the same year as our Lucas, and I think he scored actually at the weekend. But no, Adam Wharton, no for now. But I wouldn't rule him out in the future.
Can I just add? Well, first of all, like, I wouldn't take him for the reasons that Chris said. I want tried and tested. But I'm just going to steal the chat 1 second. Do not tell me anything that's happening. My wife will kill me. She's waiting, like patiently.
We love it.
So patiently. I owe her big time. because we are planning to watch this after the show. So
We love it.
yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This show will never end, lads. The amount of questions. Right. Same two. Paul had mentioned the same two again, so we'll move past that one. This one from Nobby Clark. He goes, Do we now think it was Joe Linton that Darren Eales was hinting at in his interview? Who knows?
Fair point.
It's a good point. DXK talks about a Swedish prospect that we've been linked to. Yeah, I saw the name a couple of days ago. I can't remember the name now.
Yeah, the
young lad as well. Yeah. He was doing. I saw the little video as well. He looked very good in that video. Can't remember his name though. Connie probably knows his name.
I was going to say the one with the blonde hair, but most stereotypical Swedish people have blonde hair, don't they? So that probably doesn't help. But yeah, I've seen the picture of him with his blonde hair, but I can't remember his name. I don't even know. Was he a winger? I think he was a winger.
I think he's a winger as well.
Yeah.
But
again,
he looked good.
I think we need tried and tested for now. I do.
I think I'd sign him though if we got a good deal. I think a lot of clubs looking at him. They're even talking about Barcelona.
Lucas Bergvall.
Right. Okay.
Lucas
Bergvall. Is he 16? I think I read he was 16.
17. Yeah.
17. Right. Okay.
I know I had it somewhere. I've just not put it on here.
Yeah.
Next up, we've talked about him before. Rooney.
Rooney Badashi.
That's a yes on that one.
Yes,
we'd like to see him come in, Andrew.
Yeah, I'd say yeah, definitely.
Interesting one for DXK. It's definitely going to be a no for me here. But apparently, Martial is available for loan for a small fee. No, thank you.
Even I'd say no to that. His attitude just stinks, doesn't it? Like his facial expressions, he just looks like he's not arsed in the slightest. Like, no.
They paid 70 million.
Yeah, it's crazy
for him. Overall fee 70 million. Jesus Christ,
man. Yeah. He went on loan to Sevilla, didn't he? And then Sevilla were like, "Nah, you're all right. I'm back."
Yeah. That tells you everything you need to know, mate.
Yeah.
This one from Anthony. He says, time to get the wage bill down in the summer. Dummett, Kraft, Watts, Henrik, Ritchie, Gillespie, and Karius are all out of contract. Hopefully Southampton get promoted and can buy Fraser. Yeah, we agree with.
He's having a great season, to be fair.
Good point.
Yeah,
he's having a great season, and I don't even think his contract's out in the season, is it?
I think so. And does he have an obligation? Does he have anyone in the chat? Does he have an obligation as part of that loan deal to Southampton, or is it? Does he not?
It's just a loan. But what he said in a recent interview is that he's doing everything he can to get Southampton promoted because he wants to stay there permanently. He's already said he wants to stay. He doesn't have a future at Newcastle and he wants to stay.
What let's again, devil's advocate very quick, Daz. I know we're going slightly off here, but I think Fraser's on decent wages. I think he's on about 70-80 grand a week because obviously we signed him on a free, didn't we? But what I would ask is if Southampton were to be promoted, how much could we ask for him, do you think? Premier League player, getting them promoted from the Championship. What?
Got him on a free.
We did.
They'll have money getting promoted. I don't know how much you could ask for. I'm going to say, I don't know what age he is either. I'm going to say something like 5 million.
Ryan Fraser, I'll tell you now.
Yeah.
He's 29.
Yeah.
He's still an age where you could get a decent fee for him.
Oh, I thought he was going to say great age. Then I was waiting for it.
Look, depending on your position and your ability, it's a decent age. But for him, not so much a great age. But in terms of us getting anywhere between 5 and 10 million, not a bad age.
I like that. So, not a bad age. Yeah. Okay.
There's a selling age and there's a buying age. All right. Right. From Sink says, we talked about Seko Fofana, we talked about Calvin Phillips, and he also mentions about Mentor going back, but that'll be the summer. I think I can't see him coming back. It was in January to go back. He's in the African Cup of Nations as well. Tom asked this one: Would you take Firmino in the summer? It's a no for me. If we're bringing him in now, I'm alone, but not to bring him in the summer.
No, not in the summer.
No.
I think he's already said he's going to stay.
He said he's staying. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
He doesn't want to get hammered by that tax. Clearly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah. Sky Sports. I last 5 days on about Jordan Henderson. Get over it. Get over it. He's not right. He even had someone at the airport to meet him. Mandy says, lads, we do need at least one body in, but I do think we need two. Come on, Newcastle, we need you to step up as we're in a relegation form, but we won't get relegated, Mandy. Don't worry about that. I don't think we'll be fighting relegation, but the form is clarified it there. But so. We're moving up. I said one. On Tuesday, maybe increase that number between now and the end of January.
We could need four. We could need four.
Andrew mentions two names here. I know one we can rule out straight away in Nico Williams because he signed a new contract with Let's Go Bilbao. But Kefren Turam, a name that has come up in a number of years. He's gone all quiet with them now, isn't it?
Very quiet.
Fee might have dropped slightly. Potentially back in.
Yeah.
He's
on a free transfer.
I think he could be a player we'd look at in the summer. Definitely. I don't think now, but I think we could look at him in the summer. As Pete said, if the price is right, who knows?
Yeah.
One for you, Pete, because you've talked about him for about 3 or 4 years. Renato Sanchez.
Ooh. Yeah. You know what? I think he's still quite young as well. I think he's only about 24.
26.
Oh, is he 26?
From Stew, yeah.
He's older than I thought. Oh, maybe not so much a great age as I thought.
A reasonably good age. In fact, 26 is a good age. Good age.
That's not too bad.
But PSG have apparently made him available, Pete, if reports to be believed.
They have, and he hasn't played a lot of minutes, or he hasn't been like the focal point of Jose Mourinho's team as he expected to be.
Roma, sorry.
And so because he's at PSG, but I think he was on loan at Roma. So I think he could well be available. Like you said, for me, I think he's got unfinished business in the Premier League. I actually thought his skill set was better suited to the Premier League than Ligue or Serie A. So I think someone like him coming over would be a great bit of business. It wouldn't cost a lot of money. As you said about Ekitike boys, like they want rid. They want to move on those players. They won't demand a lot of money for them. Talented boy.
That's just thinking there as well that with Jose leaving Roma, and he could be still injured, but Tammy Abraham as well. I think he kind of only went there because Mourinho was there, so he may be looking to get back to the Premier League in not for January, but if he's out injured. But so one to look at again or keep an ie on because I know he's been linked to us a number of times. Yeah.
He had an ACL, I think. I think he did his ACL. But in the summer, who knows?
Why not? Could be a Callum Wilson replacement.
Alan Thompson is just put in the chat about Lewis Hall. Should be signing. I think we've already agreed the deal. It's already done.
I think so as well.
Yeah. It's already done. I think he's already hit his remit to make the loan permanent. So at the end of the season, we'll be paying 28 million for him. So that's a conversation we need to have in the summer.
Yeah,
about what we expect from the left back position.
Yeah, we've got a lot of left backs. Obviously, Jamal Lewis will be coming back from Watford. We've got Paul Dummett. We've got Dan Burn. We've got Matty Target. We've got Livramento who can play there. We've got Lewis Hall. There's 6 just off the top of my head. There's a lot of players going to have to go there.
Well, let's keep going with the questions, guys. Jimmy Watt asks, it looks like we're going to sell Manio and Lascelles. Would you be disappointed if we didn't bring anyone in, or would you be pissed off with the club for not bringing someone in?
Yes and no. I think, funnily enough, Jimmy, we were just talking about that before. That was one of my devil advocate questions, but I think I would be disappointed. I wouldn't necessarily say pissed off, because if there's an opportunity to move those two players on and you get a few quid and you get them off the wage bill, you've got to take it. But if we didn't replace them, like, I would be very disappointed. Not gonna lie. Sorry, Pete, go on, mate.
No, sorry, I was stuck to the wife. She keeps going, traitors.
Okay, let's speed it up. Right. I think we've seen this guy potentially score against us. We saw him when we were over at Alcaraz, Southampton. Did he score when we were at that game? Yeah.
Oh no, I don't know if he was the scorer. Oh, who scored?
We're watching him.
No.
Who scored for
I can't remember who scored, but I think it was Lavia who set up the goal for them.
Yeah.
Lavia won the ball back, I think, from Bruno and set up somebody else. Was it not?
Was it not a goal?
Was it Armstrong? I think scored. I think it was Armstrong that scored against.
I have to look it up.
But Alcaraz was a player that we've talked about on the channel. Though that's probably where we've gone to, because I think when they got relegated in the summer, we had a conversation about would we take him, because he had for all of Southampton's bad season. I thought he actually had a really good season. I thought he played really well. I liked him.
Could be a conversation to have with Ryan Fraser. See if there's a little deal to be done.
Yeah.
Yes.
How was Rich Jogging being able to watch this channel and Traitors at the same time? He said to me about my missus, my wife, getting me told because I'm not watching this show. How are you managed to do both at the same time?
It was Armstrong, Pete, actually, that scored. You were right. Good memory there. Yeah. One that we talked about in our own chat, is Giancarlo Ramos. There's talk that he might leave PSG after 6 months, and he joined for €65 million. Again, this is what I said. Yes, jump on that. Tell them we paid them in the summer. Get him on some kind of a loan.
You saw there was a link with the loan days, didn't you? Because there was another report that saying that 65 million, but you saw one that was a loan, though, didn't you?
No, that was Rich Sutherland saying of what they did to us in Paris, they owe us. So as payback, that's why they should send them on loan. Mercy, he added mercy at the end of it.
Yeah, he's right. Yeah, fair play.
So nice one, Rich, on that one. Where we go next? Yeah, another name here. I've seen his name linked for Johan Bakaru. Place of Biggie. I've seen a small bit of him. I haven't seen much of him though. You probably know something about Pete.
He's going to take big money. He's a top player. He's only young. He's a top player at PSV. I believe it's PSV. He is. Yeah, he's a quality player. We have brought him up on shows, but only really talked about him briefly. But I would be shocked if he doesn't go and make a move to a top club in the summer. But he's going to take a lot of money. Like in my opinion, I think he'll probably take Moussa Diarra money to get him out of there.
Okay,
he'll be that sort of signing. Like he's a quality player. I think he's only about 21. Might even be younger than that. But he's really young. Let me have a look. Let me have a look. See. Back here.
While you're looking there, Pete, let's go on to another name. Chris, I'll put it towards you. Where was it? Yes, Dybala. he was still available for something like 11 million or something like that. But for me, I don't think he's going to be suited to the Premier League, and that's why I'd probably stay clear of him.
Yeah, I think physicality is an issue and potentially pace as well. Not saying he's slow, but I just don't know. I mean, he is quality though. He's
and Molby doesn't say it's slow either.
Yeah, well, this is true. This is true. For the loan, why not? But I wouldn't be paying. I wouldn't be paying out big bucks for him. I mean, 11 million's not much, is it? But again, I'd imagine he'd want a pretty penny in wages. I'd imagine.
Boys, the release clause is already finished with him.
How is it gone?
It ran out, I think, on the 15th.
Right. Okay.
I think it ran out on the 15th for his 10 million. I think it was a 10 million buyout clause that you could have, but I think it could only be accessed up until the 15th of January. Right. So I think it's been and gone. But you're right in what you're saying. I'm not sure if he's right for the Premier League. Yeah, I would agree with that. But Johan Bakayoko, 20 years old, left-footed right winger. 3 goals, 8 assists.
Oh,
the assist king, should we say? But yeah,
he retired.
Yeah, boys, he's a talented player. He's a talented player. You know what? It wouldn't surprise me if someone like Chelsea snap him up. Really wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
but he's a player I'd take at Newcastle, 100%.
Right, I'm going to go for one last question because we'll be here all night trying to go through the remaining. And let's go. This is one from Toon Gamer. Question: Bruno would love to join Barcelona at some point. Would you guys take De Jong and Torres for a swap deal? For me, no. I'd buy Torres.
Yeah, I like De Jong and I like Torres. It's a good question. It is a good question. No, because as much as I like both players, there could be other gems out there. If we were to sell Bruno and he went to Barca, I'd want the cash. I want the cold hard cash, so that we could do our damage. Because as we know, boys, if we were to get 90, 100, 110, whatever the figure is, that unlocks a lot of potential. If we get 2 players in, there's no FFP bonuses there, so it's like, yeah, I'd want the cash.
Yeah. Frankie De Jong and Ferran Torres are quality players. They really are. Yeah. But there's no better way of being able to build, like you said, without that money. We'd need that financial money. I don't think Newcastle would agree to that. They're 2 brilliant players that would probably cost more than Bruno's worth.
Yeah, probably
individually if we signed them individually, but they would want the money. Yeah, it's tough. I'll be honest with you, it's tougher than it looks to make that decision.
Yeah, it is.
Those 2 players massively improved this team. They've massively improved this team. But I'm with you. I'm with you, boys. I would want the money. I'd want the cash to be able to go and spend where we wanted to spend, because it's not even about us going to spend as well. It's how it looks on the books, which is crazy. As 3 fans on this channel, we're having to think about how it looks on the books. Like, we should be like, I don't care where it looks on the books. I just want the player. But
look at his name. Look at the back of my jersey. That's what we should be thinking about.
Yeah, it's true. It's so true.
And it's crazy. It's crazy that we're in that position. But yeah, it would look better on the books having the money than it would having the 2 players. So yeah, exactly. It is what it is. But yeah, but Kempty is absolutely right. Bruno leaving, and we the 3 of us have said it, Kempty. So we're with you. Him leaving, it massively reduces what this team is about. Not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. That passion, that commitment. He was with us when nobody wanted to sign for us. And it's something that I'll never forget, for sure.
Right, that's it. Let's leave it. Like Rich Joblin, I am still dreaming of Bruno, Paqueta, and J7 in midfield, but I don't think we'll see it in Newcastle colours now. I think maybe in Brazil colours, but not in Newcastle colours, unfortunately. But you never know. Let's give a shout out to the sponsors and remind people again to hit that like button as well. So quick shout out as we try to the end. Shout out to H2O Bathroom Design Co. and the lovely bathrooms, all bathroom related gear that they have there. Go check it out. Check out the website. Check out what they have for the latest, because the pictures we have here are well out of date. New pictures on the way. Also, shout out to the RadiatorShed.com and the radiators, the range of radiators that Russ has available there. Again, go check out the website for the latest and greatest there. We will update the pictures pretty soon on that front. But yeah, thanks for joining us tonight. Us running through who will we, won't we sell, buy, who would like to bring in, who, and thanks for all your suggestions in the chat as well. We got loads. We only got to a fraction of them really, but there's some crossover as well. But hope you found the show entertaining as well. And we know that Chris has he's very desperate, and he will take Neville Southall, Leanne Mulvey. We didn't even put Charles Nzogbe into him, but he probably take it. Andy Carroll back to Jeff Henry. That's his dream. The dream.
Yeah. Ben Arthur, man. Bring Ben Arthur back.
Someone put Peter Beardsley in the chat.
And someone put Shay Given to as our goalkeeper cover. I take Shay Given back as well. Not great in penalties though. That's it. Thanks for everyone for joining us. We'll be back pretty soon. Hopefully with a signing. That'd be nice. How'd you like that? Good night, everyone.
How you like drink it like me, then tell me if you like that, like that.